Up to this point, we've learned a lot about how to use Excel to build efficient tables of information. We've seen some useful functions and formatting techniques, and now we're going to really expand our capabilities with the if statement. The if statement lets you evaluate a value and then take a different course of action depending on the result of your evaluation. It works a lot like it does in real life. Consider the following little statement. If it's raining, I'll take an umbrella. If it's not raining, I won't. That should make sense to everybody. We're evaluating a condition, is it raining or not, and then adjusting our action based on our answer. The if statement in Excel works the exact same way. We'll evaluate something and choose the action based on the result. We're also going to look at the and or functions. There are ways to evaluate several conditions at the same time. Well, an if statement in Excel works much like it does in real life. We need to start with our condition that we want to evaluate. In Excel, we call this a logical test. It's called a logical test because it either has to be true or false. You have to say something like, is it raining? That is true or false. You can't say, how hard is it raining? That can't really be evaluated to a true or false outcome. The same goes for Excel. We have to have a logical test that is either true or false. In our first example, we want to test the age to see if the individual is an adult. Our logical test will be, is the age over 18? Then we need to define what will happen if it's true and what will happen if it's false. In our example, we're going to keep it simple and just say adult if it's true and child if false. Let's go to our demo sheet and go to A10, and then we'll pull up our formula builder and look for the if statement. And is it my most recently used? It's not. So I'm going to go up here and just type in if. And I'll double click. And now what I have here is I have a couple different values. So value 1, here's my logical test. I'm going to put in here is the age greater than 18. So I'm saying if value 1 is greater than 18, then I want to write adult. Otherwise, I want to write child. And I'll hit return, and you'll see how that works. So now you see, if you look at the formula bar, Excel said if B10 is greater than 18, then that first comma denotes where you're going to do the true part, the adult. And if that's false, then you're going to go ahead and make it a child. So I can now take that if statement and copy it all the way down with my fill handle. And you see almost everybody's an adult in our list here. But we do have 3 children in there. Well, now let's talk about the and or functions. So although the if by itself opened up a new world of possibilities, there's a few more functions that work with the if and really enhance it. And 2 of these are and or. And will evaluate several logical tests and return true if and only if all of the logical tests are true. Let's look at the and table in row 25. This basically shows you if I have a logical test, and I'm just, in row 30, I've just labeled these logical tests A and B just to have a random letter assigned to them. So if my first test is true and the second test is true, and will return true. If my first test is true and second test is false, and will be false. If first test is false, and if they're both false, it'll be false. So and will only return true value if everything I'm testing is true. Or on the other hand, will return a true value if just one of the 2 is true. So in this case, if both A and B are true, it'll also return true, just like the and. But the second and third cases, where one of them is true, in the or, those will all return true. And then finally, if they're both false, then it'll of course return false. Well, let's go back up here and let's see how that and function is going to work. So I'm going to go and click on E10, and then I'm going to look for my and function. And my first logical test is going to be, is the age greater than 18? So again, I'm going to say is age, but here I'm going to say greater than 18. And Excel is helping me build this. Now the second test that I'm going to do is if the gender is female. So here I'm going to say C10 is equal to, and now you see what I have here. I have two conditions ANDed together. If B10 is greater than 18 and C10 is equal to female. Oops, it's saying, it's looking at female as if it's a name of a variable, so I'm going to have to put female in quotes. Now the result of all that is true. So I'll hit my return key. And as I copy this down, we can go in and look and see what's happening here. So on this cell, went over here and said, is B11 greater than 18? No, it's not. So it's false, not an adult female. What about this one here? B14 is greater than 18, but C14 is male. So therefore that AND ends up being false altogether as well. If I go down here to this true value, I can look at it. Both conditions were true. B16 is greater than 18 and C16 is female. So that will return a true. So by using the AND, I'm able to test more than one condition here. Now that's pretty good. That gives us true false if it's an adult female. But what we really want to do is to make it look a little bit nicer. So we want to have it actually say yes if it is an adult female and just put a blank if it's not. So in this case, we're going to have to do something else, and that is called nesting. Now when we talk about nesting, we're not going to run outside and gather a bunch of sticks and dryer lint. We're talking about nesting in Excel. And nesting is where you use a function in an argument of another function. Maybe a little bit confusing, but we're going to basically take our AND statement that we built and insert it as the logical test of our if statement. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to go to F10, and I'm going to use the formula builder to find my if statement. And for value 1, just for simplicity, I'm going to type this all in here. I'm going to type in AND parentheses B10 is greater than 18. That's the first part. And the second part is going to be C10 is equal to female. And I'll hit tab. So if that AND statement is true, that means I've got an adult female. And I just want to type in the box. And if it's false, instead of just putting blanks, I'll just put a couple dashes so we can see something. We can see what it does. And go ahead and hit enter. And as I copy that down, let's see if it works first. So you see here, everywhere that was true in column E, we made the output a little bit more user-friendly by putting actual text there and kind of leaving it blank if it wasn't an adult female. Let's break down what happened here in our if statement. Under the adult column, if it's adult or child, we have our simple logical test. That's the first part. B10 is greater than 18. And that's just one logical test. If that's true, we're going to put in the cell what's next to the first comma. And if it's not, then we're going to insert what's to the right of the last comma. Then we made an AND statement that enabled us to do two tests at once. And B10 is greater than B18 and C10 equals female. Notice that this whole part, the statement, this whole AND statement becomes the logical test in our nested if statement. So we'll go over here to F10 and you see and B10 greater than 18, C10 equals female. That whole part is the logical test. If that's true, we put adult female. If not, we just put the blanks. So in this lesson, we learned how to utilize a couple of useful logical functions, if and the AND functions. Utilizing these, we can apply rules to our basic data and derive new values for our table. And we also learned how to nest one function inside of another.